6 a.m. A rooster crows, and you are standing in the middle of one of the most heavily mined stretches of Earth on the planet. Not near it, inside it. Your rice paddy sits 4 kilometers from an army that never signed a peace treaty. Your curfew starts at 11 tonight, and if you miss it, soldiers will come looking. Your front door is closer to North Korea than to the nearest train station in your own country. And here is the part that should stop you cold. If you do not sleep in this house at least 240 nights this year, you lose it. Forever. Welcome to Taesong-doong. Everyone calls it Freedom Village, but you are about to find out that freedom here comes with a price tag almost nobody survives paying. Your village sits inside the Demilitarized Zone, a scar of land splitting the Korean peninsula in two. It was drawn in 1953 under the Korean Armistice Agreement. Everyone assumes that document ended the war. It did not. It only stopped the shooting. 70 years later, the war is still technically running, and you are farming in the middle of it. Your grandparents made one decision that changed everything. Everyone else in this valley walked south in 1953. Your family stayed. Under the rules the United Nations Command laid down, only families already farming here before the ceasefire and their direct descendants could ever remain. No new residents, not one, in 70 years. So every child born in this village is born into a waiting list of exactly one person. But staying came with conditions nobody warned your grandparents about. Every morning, soldiers count you out through a checkpoint gate. Every evening, they count you back in. Miss the count, and you are not late. You are an incident on one of the most watched borders on Earth. Your fields are lined with yellow skull-shaped signs, warning of landmines buried since the day the guns went quiet. You know exactly which rows are safe. Your neighbor does not. 3 years ago, that gap in knowledge nearly ended his life. He was chasing a runaway calf through the tall grass at the field's edge, the kind of thing a farmer does without thinking twice. One more step, and he would have crossed a line no map marks and no fence protects. A soldier's shout stopped him first. Not a mine. A voice, half a second ahead of disaster. Across the valley, less than a mile north, something even stranger waits. A village called Kijong-dong. Rows of tall concrete buildings, windows with no glass behind them, lights that click on and off by timer every single night, like clockwork. Defectors and researchers who have studied the site say almost nobody actually lives there. It is a stage set, built to be photographed from your side of the fence, not lived in. For decades, American and South Korean officials have called it exactly what it looks like: propaganda village. You have never seen a single person walk out of its front door. Not once. Not in 70 years of anyone watching. Some nights you catch yourself staring at those lit windows, wondering if anyone is behind them at all, or if you are the only real person for miles in either direction. Now picture one of your mornings. Mist still clings to the ridgeline. You step outside, and a soldier is already waiting, rifle slung across his chest, checking your name against a list he checks every single day of his life. For 1 second, his radio crackles, and his eyes flick north toward the tree line. You freeze. Then he exhales, waves you through, and the moment passes like it never happened. You nod. He nods back. Somewhere across the wire, a loudspeaker crackles awake with a broadcast nobody in your village bothers translating anymore. It is background noise now, the way traffic is background noise everywhere else. Do you ever stop noticing the guns? Most residents say, eventually, you do. Sit with that for a second. Is that resilience? Or is that exactly how a person learns to live somewhere they never should have had to? Here is the twist nobody expects. Your ginseng and rice sell for more than double the price of the exact same crop grown just outside the fence. Buyers across South Korea pay a premium for it, some out of patriotism, some because everyone knows the soil here has never been touched by a highway, a factory, or a bulldozer. Danger, it turns out, made your harvest more valuable, not less. But that is not even the strangest thing this fence has given you. Residents of Taesong-dong pay no South Korean income tax. Working-age men here are exempt from mandatory military service in a country where almost every young man serves without question. No exceptions asked for, and none usually given. Your cousin in Seoul spent 2 years in uniform. You never spent a single day in one. Not because you were lucky, but because the government decided your entire life inside this fence already counted as service enough. The same fence that could get you killed is the exact reason no developer has ever touched this valley. Isolation became your inheritance, the one thing nobody could tax, draft, or pave over. And it is not only the people who found an unlikely gift inside this border. Something else has been surviving out here too, unnoticed, for 70 years. While two armies glared at each other across this line for 7 decades, something else was happening, quietly, in the space between them. With almost no human development allowed inside the buffer zone, the DMZ became one of the last intact wilderness corridors on the entire peninsula. Ornithologist George Archibald and researchers with the International Crane Foundation have tracked endangered red-crowned and white-naped cranes wintering in this same no man's land, birds with almost nowhere left to land anywhere else in East Asia. The most heavily armed border on Earth accidentally built one of the best wildlife refuges in Asia. Soldiers with loaded rifles stand watch a few hundred meters from birds that exist almost nowhere else on the continent. Some conservationists now worry about the one thing you would never expect anyone to fear: peace. If the border ever truly opens, the bulldozers finally come, and the one thing that saved these cranes for 70 years disappears in a single season. Now hold that thought, because the 240-night rule is not just a technicality. It is the reason your family has never truly been free to leave. Stay away too many nights, for any reason, a hospital stay, a family emergency, a life that pulls you elsewhere, and you can lose the home your family has held since before the ceasefire. Somewhere else, leaving home is simply a choice you make. Here, staying is the toll you pay just to keep what is already yours. Your ancestors bet that a temporary armistice would eventually become a real peace, and that the land would be worth more on the other side of it. 70 years later, no treaty has ever been signed. Your family is still placing that same bet, one harvest at a time, one counted night at a time. So ask yourself the question this village has been answering every single day for 70 years. If the line dividing you from the rest of the world was only ever supposed to be temporary, at what point does it simply become your life? You wake up again tomorrow to a rooster crowing inside a minefield. Your daughter will wake up to the same sound in the same house under the same waiting list of one. Except now you know the truth. The danger was never the mines under your feet. The danger was a temporary line that quietly, patiently, outlived every person who ever expected it to disappear. And one day, when it is her name on that list instead of yours, she will step outside into the same mist, hear the same rooster, and understand exactly what you understood the morning a soldier's shout saved a neighbor's life instead of a mine ending it. That some inheritances are not chosen. They are simply the ones nobody ever got around to giving back.